On this week's edition of Just a Walk, thanks, we cover Hong Kong, the big meeting that's coming up. There's a Kiwi horse that David Hayes trains. I can't remember its name, but it's real fast, and it's $1.20. And it's going to take on Recommendation that we've got a really good gauge on. Antino heads over there. We look at the NZ Ready to Run sale. Butch was there. What happened? Who the big boys were? What it might mean moving forward. We talk about provincial feature meetings on Saturdays. We spoke about the Victorian jockeys demanding to be paid to do jump outs. And we talked about Get Along, the horse that I stole yesterday. Jono, J-N-O, at themailbag.com.au to find out more. Hope you enjoy the show. G'day, welcome to episode 16 of Just a Walk, thanks. Brought to you by Mailbag Bloodstock, powered by ponyform.com.au. Present at today's session, Jono Rayner, who's over. He's had too much sick leave and long service leave, and we're going to have to renegotiate his contract. He's the glue that holds the Mailbag Bloodstock together. John.
Potentially was.
How are you?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you. Yeah.
Present. Good. Also present at this morning's meeting, the man that's just everywhere. If you go on Twitter, you can't miss this bloke. He was waddling around with big amounts of cash. My mail is it took him, Butch, it's like an hour and a half drive home from the Gong to like the northern leafy exclusive suburbs of Sydney where he resides. It's about an hour and a half trip. It took him 6. He had to stop that many times just to keep the lunch in. Mickey, Michael, Gandog, how are you?
Yeah, good, mate. Doing well. I can confirm that was the longest 90-minute trip of my life. Yeah, let's just leave it at that.
Prayers for
good to be here.
Prayers for the Adelaide Magic Millions this year. We're gonna have to make sure Jono and Mick sort of check on each other and look after each other.
On the upside, that's as good a performance as I've put in a long time. And it wasn't a 9.55 Moonee Valley. It was like a Melbourne Cup effort. And I think you'd be half proud.
Oh, yeah.
Dad.
Speaking of Dad, welcome. He's present again. Butch Bourne, recently retired, dominating, been in New Zealand. We're going to get to that later on. Butch Bourne, how are you?
Good, guys. Good. Yeah. Came back home with the latest strain of New Zealand's whatever it was.
Jono flu.
Yeah, the Jono flu, we'll call it. Yeah, bit of rain attacks. They just lumped on top of me. But feeling great. Sound a bit ordinary, but it's no, I'm a lot better than what I was. But it was a great trip. Got the hire car, got out and about, buzzed around, looked at horses, private sale horses in the paddock, in training. Yeah, it was a great trip, actually.
And the final person present at this morning's meeting, he's still glowing and gloating in the aftermath of Trump's glorious victory. He's a big Doge man. He's consumed every inch of Tim Dillon's content over the last little sort of 2-year period. Robertos Rob Tin Hat Scurry, how are you, my man?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, really good. Good. Had a light week on the horses. So, yeah, saw you bought Get Along. I remember seeing that as a 2-year-old a few times. So I can talk to you about that. Sorry if I ruined the surprise there.
Oh, yeah, right, mate. It's no surprise. We bought it in our own name yesterday.
Yep.
Boys, Just to Walk, thanks. Episode 16. Where should we start our catch up? New Zealand, ready to runs?
Yeah, let's go.
The good horses made good money, Butch.
Yeah, they did. Now, before we actually get into the sale itself, a lot of love for the podcast in New Zealand. Lots and lots of listeners over there. None more passionate than Dave Dooley from Lansdowne. He's an avid listener, and he's liking the diverse conversations, especially from our man in the tin hat, Rob Scurry. He loves it. He loves the diversity of it all. No, so a lot of love that first of all, which is great. So Shout out to those three people in New Zealand. And the sale, very strong. The professional the professional breakers, pre-trainers that target this sale from New Zealand, they've evolved now. What they do is they come to Australia and they raid the yearling sales and they buy the right type that would suit Hong Kong stallions. Toronado, Deep Field, etc. All Too Hard, all those sort of stallions that are successful. So they've really ramped that up. What does that do for the domestic market? Not 100% sure, but I think once the premier sale's finished, the yearling sale, I think the second session might be in a bit of trouble because the slow maturing sort of middle distance staying type is not on their radar. And once upon a time, they used to fish to buy the cheaper horse to breeze up. Now they're targeting a certain horse, and that horse is definitely coming from Australia.
So what do we think that means moving into the next sale season?
I think that I think you could, narrow it down doing the form guide on the yearling sales to what they will target. Obviously, colts, obviously certain size. Don't know whether they don't usually delve much into the first season size. But in saying that, Ole Kirk, one made 550 that came out of the Classic for 120. So they were quite happy to pay up for that, which probably just made me realise that I might have targeted the wrong sale, selling my Ole Kirk on the Gold Coast for 280. I think it might have made a bit more in New Zealand. So, but that's just the way the sales are going. I don't really know what they're going to do in Australia. Magic Millions, Inglis's, they're both competing for the market share against New Zealand, which is strong and getting stronger.
Do you think it was a strong sale though overall, or whether just the right amount of Asian buyers and big thickies there to sort of make it look stronger than it sort of is?
Yeah, well, I suppose a couple of sample sizes for you. Chris Waller was present himself. So Chris and Guy Mulcaster looking at horses in that sale. Tiakal strong again, as they normally are. Well, see, they weren't present on the Gold Coast. So, that's a small litmus test. Domestically, there wasn't a lot of a buying bench up north on the Gold Coast. So it just had a great diverse buying bench. Yes, strength from Hong Kong and also domestically. I think Kieran Ma bought 2 on day one of the sale. They didn't play up north. So there's just a little insight into the buying bench and the strength of the sale.
Okay. Overall, despite everything that's talked about, the economy, the prize money, the racing is going bad, racing's going good. It seems that the yearling market will be strong enough next year at this stage, you'd say.
Yeah, I think with the escalation in interest for syndicators through COVID, I think the adverse effect of that is with the interest rates remaining high, mum and dad buying a 2.5% share in a horse. That's probably going to be quelled a little bit come January and onwards for the yearling sales, which it probably was a little bit this year. So that's what do we call that? The discretionary dollar, or the money that people normally use for recreation, that sort of thing. So
disposable.
The hobbyist, the racing fan, the like tipping the toe in sort of owner, I guess, not the
Jono?
rusted on.
I said disposable income.
Disposable income. This is why we pay you the big money, Jono.
Massive money.
Yeah.
Now, Butch, I got a question for you. You made the long trip across to New Zealand, obviously arduous task, few hours across there, and when you landed at the airport, Was our man there, Jono? Was he waiting for you with bells on? The old sign, Butch, just ready to go. Did that occur?
Uh,
RDO.
he said he was there, but I think he went to the wrong gate. I think he went to economy. So I think he missed me.
And then didn't follow up with a phone call, or maybe go we'll catch up for breakfast or lunch or anything like that.
No, just for everyone's geography out there, Jono's in Wellington. I landed in Auckland, so that's a as the crow flies. Jono, what are we talking hours wise?
An hour flight, probably about 8 hours driving.
Yeah, okay. So we'll give him give him a pass on that, but
We could have given you an RDO though, Jono. You could have gone up and just visited him.
He's
What are those?
used them all up.
He's dropped his yogurt. He's dropped
This is a disaster. Stand by.
Yeah. Anyway,
Just
And
reassure
lead us
video.
into our next topic here again.
can I just give a shout out to New Zealand, Air New Zealand, for the flight that was landing at 10:30 that landed at 2:30 a.m. in the morning. So
Wow.
Pop that.
thanks for that. I was quite happy to pay full tote odds at the Pullman at the airport to get about 3 hours sleep. That was great.
For those playing at home, the yogurt's being cleaned up. We're all good.
Okay. Where should we go to next?
We can go to. I want to speak to Mick and just get his opinion on
This will be good.
the horses that are going to Hong Kong, Mick. So we've got recommendation heading over to the sprint race. We have Docklands, which we're not claiming Docklands, but he did stop over.
We will be like Crowd House, you know.
Yeah, Russell Crowe. Yeah, all that sort of stuff. Farlap, he was an Aussie. So we got Docklands. He's off over there as well, and the
Attrition.
Antino.
That was the one I was groping for, Jono. Antino for the. I assume he's in the mile race. So Mick, give us a bit of a. Not so much because we're not knowing our competition, and they do come from all over the globe for those international races. But just your take on those three particular horses.
Yeah, gut feel is I think they'll all be outclassed. I really do, and I'll probably lean on Jackie because they're all horses that are raced in Victoria. But some of the highest quality racehorses going around there in Hong Kong, and I don't think we're probably sending our best over. Would you agree with that, Jack?
Yeah, I reckon from a we're not big owners, but from our point of view, and I think from like a lot of trainers' point of view, it's a really good experiment because should recommendation go over there and be competitive, in 6 months' time, there'll be a lot of people going, well, recommendation, went over there and was really competitive. We should look at this because he's not elite here. It's a really readable level. Raced a heap through spring, early spring, all the way through. As classic Kieran, you would have expected Butch that horse was probably in the paddock 2 months ago, almost a month ago. Still going. Now it's going to Hong Kong. They're just too good at it. Docklands is a really fascinating horse for us because it's a direct measure to the Cox Plate, our best race. And then Attrition. Antino has grouse Group 1 mile form. So
he's the one I reckon that can.
He's the best performed horse in my opinion too, but he's a really good guide. He wasn't overtaxed through spring.
Yeah.
He obviously won the Toorak Caulfield with that brilliant ride, and they gapped him, beat another Will that I think that's really good Group 1 form. Not overtaxed that preparation, so you'd assume every possible. I'd assume Butch, Gunno, Blake Shin goes with that horse and probably goes his recommendation.
Which is a newsbreaker, he'd know.
Yeah, no, Blake, it's no breaking news. No, Blake was always going to ride the horse, and which is an advantage because he did really well up there, Blake, when he rode in Hong Kong. So he knows the place inside out, and as we know, he's via his suspensions, he's a good competitor, Blake, isn't he?
No, he tries his best, and I think from our point of view, it's a nice test, nice benchmark for those horses, particularly Antino, were very, very competitive and winning through our spring and our best races. So how it goes in Hong Kong is going to be really fascinating to watch and measure, and I think it'll dictate, what happens in the next year and two moving forward. If they all fail badly, particularly Antino and particularly Recommendation, then this time next year, I don't think anyone will be talking about sending a horse there.
Um, sorry,
Oh.
Butch. I've had just a fill up following Japanese horses on that World Day. They seem to win, 60-70% of the races, of the big races, year in, year out. And I also saw that there might be a new champion sprinter from Hong Kong. It broke the track record the other day, which might,
Car Young Rising, is it?
Currently
Yeah,
$1.25 for the Hong Kong Sprint.
Australian, but basically Australian because it's trained by the great David Hayes.
And I hear Butch, probably being the newsbreaker he is, he'll probably know more, but I hear this horse will be spending a little bit of time down the road, which next preparation.
For the Everest?
Hmm.
You could do worse than to lock him in early, but this is the dilemma these days for horses of that caliber, Mick. You've got, say, arguably the world's best sprinter potentially.
Yeah.
Now you've got to be careful that you don't run in everything and win nothing. So he can win whatever you target him for, and I'm sure he's right on target for the International Day. He's definitely been aimed up at that. But just a sidelight to that particular horse, he's by Sham Express, and the owner of that Kaying Rising was keen to purchase every Sham Express at the Ready to Run sale. And I was talking to Will Hayes, who was representing the guys over there, and they pretty much bid up on all those Sham Expresses. I think they got a couple of them. So, that's how it works in Hong Kong. They get a particular liking for a sire, and they'll go hard on them. And
we couldn't get a date out of you on the arrival of that fast horse, Bush. One would assume probably early February in preparation for the Everest. I'm trying to get a push here. I thought you'd be the man in the know.
Yeah, no. Well, I as in no, as in no. No, that I would have thought that the horse looks like on visually looking at his win the other day. He smashed him. He's run a track record. The horse looks like half a freak, to be honest. So I would expect him to win that race up there. And that would be the race that Recommendation's in. Is that right?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that puts a dampener on poor old Recommendation, doesn't it?
Well, he's $35. Probably should be 50s.
Yeah. Good reconnaissance though for the camp. They can get up there and have a play with a runner in Hong Kong, and for next time they get maybe one with a little bit more.
Yeah, and they've obviously got David over there to help with the whole logistics of the whole thing.
Kirama also said he was bringing a few horses to New Zealand. Now we're getting our prize money up. I think Recommendation was possibly one of them. There was definitely Light Infantry Man was possibly coming, Nugget, I'm Unstoppable, Tis Invincible. So some decent names sort of coming here now that prize money's up.
I'm sure they can organise a plane from Hong Kong to Auckland for Recommendation, and one from Perth to Auckland for Light Infantry Man. So they'll be able to get that done.
Hey, Bush, did you hear that Switzerland and Stormboy potential possibles to head to Royal Ascot?
Well, definitely Stormboy because he's gone.
Well, he's there.
He's gone. Yes, he's. Well, yeah. Royal Ascot though, is he? What's he running in? Are they going to get him out to the mile?
I'd be surprised.
Would you? Yeah, I thought he looked like he'd be. Well, I know Brian might go about things a little bit differently than what they've done with him up to date. And I would have thought maybe a bit further myself, but strangely enough, as a sprinter over there, he's certainly going to be more than competitive against those horses just on his Australian form, because you know we can roll through most of our decent sprinters that can go over there and just win. So
Yeah, like if we owned it, we'd if Butch was just going, listen, this thing's a miler, this thing's a miler, but we're over there. I think I could even talk Butch into running that, like aiming it at 1,200 meter races over there, because
Big spacious tracks as well, big wide
the
straights.
competition at 1,600 over there is a lot different to the competition over 1,200.
Yeah.
We want to win.
And the way they run their races over there, I don't know whether you've watched them, Mick, but the barrier thing doesn't seem to be of great importance. And I've got a feeling that if you've got a horse that doesn't like to stand in there that long, they might even give you a little bit of preference, you know, for that sort of thing. So I think you'll find that the issue with the barrier in a hot speed in Australia, in those sprint races around the bend, you know, it mightn't be that much of a factor in those big open straight races.
I think he'll go over there and he'll win as many as he needs to win until they put him out to do his job.
Yeah,
Right.
it's good. I'm really keen to see what he actually does, because he's obviously got some talent, but he's I think the horse is probably just slightly confused at the minute. That's all.
Do you think that
hopefully
opens up other opportunities? Sorry, Jack. Do you think it opens up other opportunities though for Australian trainers to have a colt that's been competitive, and next year they go, oh, hang on, we want to get that Group 1 win. We'll go over there. Do you think or do you think it's just a more specific thing? Sorry, Jack, to interrupt.
Well, that's driven by dual hemisphere serving rights. So we all know Storm Boy, very fast 2-year-old, ran them off their legs in the Magic Millions. Maturity, speed, ability. He would command. Sorry.
Significant investment into the horse.
Yeah, absolutely. But he would command a full book of mares in his first season at a fee over here. I don't know. Let's gauge it. Let's try and gauge it. I know they try to work off what they've paid for them, but you've also got to fill the book up. So I think they stood home affairs at about 100 or 110 along those lines. Does that leave Storm Boy at the minute? Does that leave him around the 80 mark or maybe?
Yeah, 88.
88.
80 plus, I reckon. That's what they do.
Yeah. So they want him to
John would say go 44. Butch would say, 110. Me and Ganno would shrug. Rob would say it's not Japanese, not worth shit. And we'd land at about 80.
Yeah. No, a fair point too. But he just needs to go over there, win a race. It's the Star Spangled Banner, so you think. It's that model, winning in dual hemispheres, being able to fill up the book on both sides. Because I think Redouts and Fastnet might have gone over across to Europe for the Northern Hemisphere, but they weren't inundated. They were popular without being, and I think, and that's why it's the mares that you get. Like you've got 200 years of breeding of those English type horses, the bone and all those sort of things in the Northern Hemisphere, as opposed to our things with a lot of bone and used to the firm tracks, etc., etc. So stallions behave differently in both hemispheres, successful in one and not in the other. There's no rules to it, but I think it's more just the gene pool that they match with in the finish.
That makes sense. All right,
remember, Galileo came out here and did nothing as a stallion.
I can give you the strangest Galileo story, which was a chestnut filly by Galileo that Simon O'Donnell and Terry Henderson owned. Gave it to me to train, and it won a 1,000-meter maiden at Pakenham with Ryan Maloney on it. It just used to go like a dog shot up the arse. It was so quick, and I know Terry was a bit frustrated because he was like, this thing's meant to go a mile and a half, and I said, I really don't have an idea how to go about that because it's just so quick. You can't stop it. and he sent it back to the Northern Hemisphere, and it did. I'll give him his dues. It won a 1,800 meter race at Thirsk. I'm not too sure whether you're familiar with that track. They have one of their biggest race there, I think, might be the Hun Club Cup. So it's the Thirsk Hun Club Cup, which is a time-honoured race. Say that again, Jack.
Thirst Hunt Club, chase. Sorry, John.
Yeah, I know this. I tell you what, I've gone sideways about 10 times a year, haven't I? Anyway, it won an 1,800 meter race in Europe, and because he wanted to sell it because it was worth a lot of money as a Galileo mare in the Northern Hemisphere. So anyway, just to back up Rob's little story there, they just behave differently out of Australian mares. That's all.
Yep. All right. Let's change gears. Monday, Tuesday, sometime on my TikTok, Gano, I saw Wayne Hawkes sort of just hanging shit on the provincial Saturday meetings, the feature meetings on a Saturday. It's SEN. They're just trying to sort of, get you going, get some interaction there. But it got me thinking. You went to the Gong meeting. I went to the Cranbourne meeting. What were your thoughts on it? You obviously go a bit. You don't go a heap, but you go a bit. You go enough to see the comparison from a Rose Hill and a Randwick to that Gong feature meeting. What do you think about the whole thing?
Firstly, on Wayne's comments, obviously, pretty obvious. I work with SEN and do a lot of stuff, and the media team in there, will take snippets and you make you look like a fool. I think Wayne was probably more referencing turnover and he wants to see the figures prove the point, not so much about engagement. So just sort of put that out there first before I get struck. But the day itself at Kenmore Grange was super. It was as good a race day as I've ever been to. The atmosphere is just a little more relaxed than what you're going to get at a Randwick or a Rose Hill on a big day. There's still 7,000 odd people there. It was jam packed. It was a great environment. The best thing about it, and he's a point that Beery fired up about, because he's seen the one-liners, and I think he responded to the SEN tweet, and so did hundreds of other people, is that you've got to bring the best product to these local areas. You can't just keep giving them provincial racing, because you need to engage the participant, the attendees with the best participants. You need the best jockeys, you need the best trainers, you need the best horse, and you need a gong. And it was a great day, and everyone that was there, they'll go back next year, and if they can fit another 4,000 on, they'll probably get them.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. For someone, for a punter or a half a fan who lives 20 minutes the wrong side of Cranbourne or further, they're 2 hours from Flemington, 2 hours from Caulfield. So this is the chance to get them there, like the Mornington meeting. And I think the whole mindset needs to change into like pounding this stuff, to growing your audience, to revitalizing the on-track experience. It was vibrant at Cranbourne. It was pumping. It was so pumping
was
that
on
someone
fire.
decided to light a fire and fucking get the whole thing smoking. But I agree that you need the good horses, the good jockeys, and the good trainers on top of it all. The vibe was outstanding at Cranbourne. Um, the venue, the turnover dollar is driven by monsters who don't care where it is. They care about the horses and the tracks being consistent.
I'm glad you mentioned that.
It's just naive and dumb and ignorant, and he's not either of those things. So I don't know why they sort of cut up to make him sound that way. The wagering dollar doesn't stop on Tuesday, Thursday. It just goes and goes and goes. The big boys just bet, and they bet. And it's about growing the game and growing the sport and changing the vibe. There's the Caulfield meeting this afternoon. There's a Caulfield meeting on the Heath last Wednesday. The crowd was tiny.
Yep.
There was no different crowd to a Sandown meeting. Because it's an off-Broadway, midweek, benchmark 64 maiden meeting. If like the good races and the good horses need to be placed like they are, the Ballarat meeting will be packed, because people from Ballarat, they're not going to go to Caulfield very often. It's a big day to do it. I think they're really, really, really good for the game.
Do you know what I'd also say, Jack? And there's a point that, like, I was disappointed on the day because we had horses going around and the track sort of didn't play the way that it was perceived it should play. But it was hot. This was at Campbell Grange, and Cranbourne was much the same. It was leaderish. But you do get these days, in metropolitan racing as well. So let's not forget that it is what it is. You dished up with
That's
what
a
you've
great point.
given.
Caulfield was a disgrace, all carnival.
Mm, mm,
Flemington was the worst it's been for a while. It still was good, but it's not at the high standard it's always been. Moonee
yeah,
Valley was great, like really good.
yeah, it was. Yeah,
But if you're going to give Kembla and Cranbourne and these, like, you'll give Pakenham a meeting soon, Ballarat will get a meeting. They're in a time of year where it's either really hot or really wet.
Do you know what else though? To your point, so there was a obvious enough bias at both courses, and the big boys, they stepped in and they stepped in good and proper. Gringotts was something like 420 into 260. There's only one reason for that: the way the track was
Turnover.
playing and
Yeah,
turnover, of
it's
course.
turnover. Turnover is the reason for that move.
Correct.
Not like, oh shit,
Better
bloody
cuddle.
some really
But
smart punters had $200 on that thing. We better turn it off. No, no,
Yeah.
no. It's weight of money, which is turnover. It's a
So
conscious one.
whilst,
You wouldn't know because in New South
sorry, Rob.
Wales, no one really knows what's going on
No.
with turnover. In
but
Victoria, they'll report it. It might be slightly down, but if they put time and effort into it, over in 10 years' time, it could be like a much bigger and better thing.
mm,
Do you know what they did? Sorry, Rob, just quickly, just
yeah.
before we pivot. In Adelaide, they had a meeting earlier in the year. It was their big Group 1 meeting, and they had I couldn't tell you who it is, but it was a pro punter, I believe, that walked the track and gave you his feeling on the track. As a participant in New South Wales, that gave me confidence to have a bet on some New South Wales horses or Victorian horses that I like there, purely because I value this guy's opinion and he gave me a read on the track. If you're going to go to these other places, if you do that stuff, I think you can add more confidence and value to those punters that may or may not be sure. Sorry, Rob.
Then that ties in to the arse licking fear of offending people culture that is saturated and is racing media.
Well, it wasn't like a Canterbury Friday night hot rail at Kembla Grange. You know,
Correct.
Pisanello still drifted and won, so it wasn't impossible to make ground up the inside on the back. It still won, and it turned out to be a good result for me.
Yeah, but
And look,
I'm saying if someone in Victorian media on RSN or racing.com came on Saturday morning and said, I've walked the track, it's lanes 1 and 2 only, and it's going to be very hard to make ground, I would have called everyone. I would have fainted a bit. I would have been, holy shit. Someone has said something like that's a bit, whoa, did he just say that? It just doesn't happen. Everyone's petrified of offending someone.
don't you think that stimulates higher turnover, having more knowledge? Like,
100%. We're trying to grow the sport, so we're going to take us to other jurisdictions. But the media is so bland and boring. The Sunday morning content on RSN, like if you were hungover, you'd be able to go back to sleep if you didn't have kids. It's torture. And why would they? Why are we funding this dot ball, boring, bland, uneducational, opinionless content when all you see around the world with sports that kick off and grow is opinion and like energy
education.
Yeah.
and like a bit of like aggression against the other. Like it's okay to have a differing opinion and argue a point. It's not like I'm going to kill you and you're a shit person. It's like, hey, I really disagree with you. Let's have it out because that's interesting.
And the best part about this game is
they're
you can.
psychos. Joe
Yeah.
Rogan's like off like the AFL, Kane Corns. There's a number of them. They'll say whatever they think, and it's engaging content. When the content is vanilla, the sport just misses everything.
And the best thing about this game is you find out whether you're right or wrong pretty quickly.
Mm.
And you can be wrong a couple of times and still be right the next time. Like, that's a beautiful part.
Just before you get off the topic, Jack, two things. Well, when I saw the flames at the back of the stand, I thought, first thing I thought is Jack Dickens is having a cheeky dart in the disabled toilet. What
it was a massive push for the vape.
That was my first go-to. Now, secondly, Jono, New Zealand don't really have city and provincial tracks, but they have a lot of racing and they have a lot of big race days. So that does not seem to matter, with the punting dollar, does it, when they have a big race day in New Zealand?
I would assume Ellerslie is like bigger, but Ellerslie's probably sort of the only one, that really probably moves the needle compared to the other ones. But in saying that, Ellerslie was closed for a couple of years and life went on. So I wouldn't say it's as much of a dramatic difference as when you have a provincial on a Saturday in Victoria or New South Wales compared to New Zealand, mate.
I just think I'm just so frustrated by the whole thing. Like, someone on here, tell me a show that you listen to through the week, you listen or you watch that gets you going. Like, oh, I can't wait now.
It'd have to be the weekend preview on a Thursday, surely.
Well, there's not like in what major sport trying to draw audience and crowd and then eventually turn that into turnover, like, has nothing on a Saturday night or a Sunday morning recapping the sport through a fearless lens, though. Not going, oh, geez, it was fantastic to see that Justify Colt win. They paid 144,000 for it at the Magic Millions. They've been really good, consistent owners and like, no one cares. Like, give the great stories. Give the Coolmore sold a Kuta Sushi for 165,000 English digital. How's that going? Like, someone in another sport would talk about those things and get you going. This track race like this, blah 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 blah. It's just
Love it.
Still in my head in. It has
Love
done
it.
for 6 years, but I reckon it's actually getting worse.
Yeah, that's all. Well, the low, but it gives space for this, though, Jack, doesn't it?
Yeah, but like, once this goes out, I'm gonna go like Cranbourne on Monday, and I'm gonna keep my chin on my chest a bit. Let's go
keep them
to
up.
speaking of Cranbourne on Monday. There might be no jump outs, Butch, because the jockeys want to get paid. I don't understand this issue completely, so I'm sure not many people listening do. Let's have a crack at unpacking it, particularly from your point of view as a recently retired trainer. I would assume that this is just going to make the rich richer and the poor not as poor, but they're never going to get that opportunity to ride the good horses because from my experience, what happens, Jono, you can back this up, is a lesser known jockey will do some of the gallops and the jump outs on our horses, and then you're kind of obliged to stick with them as that horse goes to the races. If we're paying them $110 per jump out, then that obligation's gone.
Obligation gone. Yep.
So the better riders are going to get paid to do the jump outs, and they're going to get their absolute pick of the horses, or even the really smart ones who seem to like float in and out and do whatever they want. Jockeys, $110 on a Monday morning is not going to change anything for them. Potentially, I'd be not riding jump outs and just freshening right up and just getting the ride anyway. Because that obligation of guilt from the owner and the trainer is now gone because we're paying for the service.
It's something that should have been addressed a long time ago, because I think the way it's crept up here is that we have a thing called official trials and then jump outs. I think in New South Wales they just have trials.
Yeah,
maybe it's just time to call it what they are, because basically they're the same. They're just trials. That's what they are. So at the present, everyone seems to be wanting to aim up at each other, owners, at the trainer, the jockey. All I've heard, the content from the media, is people aiming up. What if you had to build the owners, and what if and that's just it's not constructive. To trying to get to a result and fathom it out. But I'd like to see. I think Aaron Morrison, who's the CEO of Racing Victoria, seems to have come in and looks like he's going to clean a few things up and straighten a few things out. This is one of them. So a bit of leadership, please. Call it for what it is. I think it opens up a bigger discussion And Jack, you and I spoke about this the other day in a casual manner, which is how racing, should be structured from the top to the bottom and how people get remunerated, et cetera, et cetera. I think it's a little bit archaic.
Yeah.
They talk.
Keep going. Sorry.
Who's that?
I don't know.
I think is that Mick yelling at his dog or something?
Yeah. Dog.
Yeah. He's
Racing's a bit archaic in its model.
Yeah, well, I think that yeah, that's right, and I think it's just got it's set it out, have a template, for fees, and there's it's a with if you want to choose a trainer, you go to the top and pay the most, or you go to the bottom and pay the least amount. You pick a jockey; they all cost the same money. Now, in my experience, the only time that it costs you more is if you win a good race, and the jockey might ask for another 5%, which I don't think yet we have any problem with, as long as it's spoken about before the race. I don't think you don't build a house and go, here, Jono, here's your $2 million bill. By the way, I did a fantastic job. Give me another 200 grand. Like, if you want 2.2, just tell me before you start. Don't just roll out.
I guess on your point, you're getting distracted. You get
No. I think it's valid. No, well, it's 101 business. No one likes surprises.
Completely agree.
And it's like I was always big on this. It's like, how much a day you're charging? I'm gonna charge X amount. There's no pluses. Like, whatever it costs you to train that horse, that factor that into your day rate, and you say, I charge X. There's no plus. It's got to be in there, and if it's got to be reviewed on an annual basis, review it, and so it goes. This is like this little issue, which is completely small. It's just a tip of the iceberg in the way racing structured, price points, expenses, who's paying for who in the zoo, and
because there would be significant trickle down effects from this sort of change, would there not? Like a young Ethan Brown or a Bo Mertens rides work for Kieran to get opportunity with Kieran, say. The next Ethan Brown and the next Bo Mertens, they've made it. But the next one of them, that's a different scenario now. So does that impact Kieran, who can't get that good young rider as much because the structure has changed? I think there'll be effects. I can't accurately sort of see what they will be, but there'll have to be changes to the politics and economics within stables and jockeys and owners and big owners and who does what. You just can you go up this horse for me? Can you do this for me? It's kind of like, you do that for me and I'll look after you.
Well, your slings will be gone.
The progression of the next rider, or will there be riders who, they're kind of in the union and they'll be the ones that don't have the opportunity to break the union and do what the trainer wants?
Yeah. Well, that, like I said, I think it's it's only the tip of the iceberg, and I think if they just reset the whole thing and say, why don't they look at it from the punting point of view and go, they've got jump outs somewhere. Okay, well, let's have an ambulance for the riders. Let's have a race caller to describe it. Let's put the proper colours on it.
There we go.
I think in jump outs, I think what they do is it's like, okay, I've got 10 horses trialing one morning. They're all got I'm going to put a set of yellow colours on them so I can see them, But that, Mick Gannon's there doing his form, and he just goes, I know that horse because I know the colours. So put the proper colours on, have the thing called, whoever's riding it, get paid for doing it, and Mick Gannon.
There'll be trainers though that won't jump them out as much if it's expensive. They'll have another gallop, or they'll have, if there's a big enough trainer, they might gallop 4 or 5 or 6 of them together.
I think there's a solution in the problem here, and it's probably only about half of the solution, but it works in New South Wales trials, and jockeys get paid for trials. I will be more than confident having a bet in Victoria if I knew which horse it was. We've had examples with mailbag, two mailbag runners that were, and was it a trial that was on where they were called different horses? Is that right? Now that's a trial, and they still got it wrong. Imagine going to jump out, you're not knowing who's who in the zoo. You're trying to guess, and then you want us to bet. So turnover would increase if they became trials, official trials, right colours, caller, better quality. It wasn't filmed off a Nokia 5110. Sorry, John.
Having the correct colours in a race even doesn't guarantee you getting called the right horse, though. Just quietly.
Yeah, whoa. Come on, let's not go there. He's one of the great.
Come on,
Typical
mate.
Kiwi, mate.
Had to be
Typical
said.
Kiwi.
Had
Get
to
out
be
of
said.
it. Anyway, we'll get to your gripes later, but I think that will increase turnover. Now, what the model looks like, it's beyond. I haven't seen enough information to tell you how to fund the entire model. Jack, at a guess, I'd imagine that the Damien Lanes of the world might decide, yeah, I'll ride track work and for my 220, and that's great for about 6 months until they go bugger that. I've had a gutful of that, and the opportunities will come back for the younger jockeys to get a good earn out of doing that and getting their hard work, getting paid for their hard work. Who pays for it?
That's the more what fascinates me is like how will it end up? I completely agree with the jockeys that they should be paid for work that they do, and the riskier work, the more they should get paid, especially when they can't earn prize money.
Yeah,
I've
got no issues with
Racing
that.
Victoria has the brain power and the leadership to roll on the back of this, and then like what Butch I think is saying, implement like a more standardized way of jumping out horses and trialing horses in Victoria, so that the sport is better for it, which is silks, callers. It's on your website. You can see all the jump outs. It's a better product for the consumer.
There shouldn't have to be a third party website for this stuff.
Yeah, I'm just fascinated as to what'll happen. Like maybe there'll be bigger stables that like employ jockeys full time or something.
Is it the same? Is it the same concept as like a real estate agent going out and getting leads? Like, you're not getting paid for that sort of work, but you're getting paid based on the results that you get from that work.
Similar to that's what it is now.
It's similar to media work, though, Jack. You want to jump on TV, you want to jump in a slot, you're not going to get paid for that.
Yeah.
But you're building your brand, you're doing what you're doing, and if you want the outcome at the end, then I think what's ludicrous and the thing that kind of gives me the shits a little bit is, and I agree that the jockeys should be getting paid and all the sentiment there, but to say, oh, we're the only job in the world where you don't get paid to do the work, what a load of crap. Like, honestly, wake up to yourself. That's garbage. There's thousands of people doing OT in, saving lives, and, nurses and doctors are doing more than necessary, just at a bare minimum. So I think that really disturbs the argument when they say things like that, because then we all go, hey, that's just crap, right?
Yeah,
so let's just call it how it is and say that for the betterment of the game, if jump outs became trials and trials you should be paid for, let's just get on with it, rather than creating this narrative that the butler and the owner, because the reality is they don't appreciate that chat because they're doing a lot of hard work, unpaid hard work themselves.
I just think Aaron Morrison needs to really stand up and lead quickly and decisively, because it's a tricky time for we know personally, and everyone I talk to is holding horses at the moment. The game needs direction and clarity, and you need to know if you're trying to if you're getting someone into a horse and they're thinking about buying into a horse, it just sounds and looks messy at the moment in Victoria. So hopefully that there is strong, decisive leadership and it's quick.
Jack, if turnover increases, significantly, and significantly like 10% off the fact that you have trials that aren't jump outs anymore, there has to be some money left over from that can go towards it. Now it's not up to us to decide these deals.
Yeah, but we've got to also cover the Japan Cup, Storm Boy, that sort of stuff. So
we're not cutting it up, but hey. I've got about 5 minutes until I got to jump off, so let's go.
Let's finish with the big Cole McKenna dispersal sale on English Digital. Some of those horses, Butch, went for a absolute ton of money. Some went to Asia. Tony and Calvin got stuck into a progressive young stayer in Half Yours. I think they paid 305,000, John.
Correct. Yep.
Which was about 205 more than I thought it would make. Um, it's a big sort of it's a big move, isn't it, Butch?
Uh, from from when I was about 5 years old, if it ever if there was a dispersal sale because of a deceased estate or dispersing, so there's been plenty over the years. Sheikh Hamden passed away, and they make overs. They make because everyone sees it. Everyone just has that extra confidence because of the genuineness of the sale, and they bet it and they bet accordingly. And it's just in my time, Eddie Kawanko, Guru Stud, all those sales, Swettenham Stud dispersals, and they just go absolutely berserk over them. And so it was no surprise for me to see, how strong it was on those horses of Col McKenna's.
Yeah, the genuineness of the sale puts lead in the pencil for
Oh yeah,
buyers.
yeah,
It'll
yeah.
be
No,
interesting how
there's,
some of those horses go. It ended
there's
up
still one
with
going around on the weekend, Jack, that wasn't sold.
which one?
Wearing those colours. That might tell us something.
Well, he's always looking for an angle, Mickey Gannon. The angle I
Yeah.
found in that sale, because it was such a lead in the pencil, because it was a genuine sale, was that hopefully they'd miss one. And I think they have. We've picked up Get Along, 20K Fall of the Hammer, a 4-year-old by Zoo Star, a multiple city winner, ex-Hawks. Now, Jesus Bedgood heads to Caroline Price's, where the 4-year-old Zoostar gelding will complete his spell and then be put through his gears by Caroline. Bit of equestrian, bit of left, bit of right, bit of trotting, bit of cantering, maybe even some jumping. Then he heads to the capable hands of Gavin Betchgood to do what he does best and improve him. Butch, could you believe I paid 20?
No, and I think after Caroline's taught him to do a few flying changes, and he'll polish up really nice. And as you say, Gav will do Gav things, and no, he's and he had good. I used to call them veterinaries, but I call them Jacks now because you've turned into a vet. He said we got the vet report off Jack Dickens. BVS, it would be the 3 letters after his name. No, he looks like the video of the horse. He's a great moving horse. So you can see why he can gallop. Yeah, I don't see any reason why he won't. I mean, he's definitely a horse that doesn't suit the big boys, is he? Like they paid a lot of money for him, and he's not going to get a slot in the Everest.
Mm.
So yeah, but there's a nice, beautiful
Meteorite, maybe next year.
the meteorite. Yeah, well, the meteorite. That's coaxed a few to keep going, hasn't it? The meteorite. Jesus.
Let's not
What's
touch
the
that.
what's
Let's not touch that.
Five 5K less we paid for Get Along there than we did for Keats. Same colours, same owners we bought it from there. So he's made just over 600K.
I think Get Along's favourite to sit on the podium with Keats, Rip Raw, and it'll be Get Along. He might nudge off whatever other one we decide.
Just Fight, boy.
Yeah, but
Susan.
Oh, there's been a lot of good ones, but like Rip Raw, we paid 9,000 for. He's already he's 1 from 1.
Yeah, it's nice. I see he's got form. He beat just recently. Get Along. He beat that Way to the Stars at Rose Hill only.
Yeah, which came out and beat some very nice horses. Maybe even
It's
recommendation, didn't it?
Yeah.
Did it? Was it recommendation?
No, it's down the straight, and it's one of the it's a genuine 1,000-meter
recommendation. Spacewalk at beat. Way to the Stars.
Recommendation was in that race. So Get Along. We paid 20,000 for yesterday. By the time you listen to this, it'll probably be like 10 or 20% left. jono at themailbag.com.au.
I just took 5%. Jono, check your phone.
Last time, like it beat recommendation that's going to Hong Kong to race against not Hu Ya Mao, but something like that. K Yung Rising for David Hayes. So yeah, exciting horse. A very, very fascinating sale yesterday. A lot of them made enormous money. Barcardi or something.
That was outrageous.
That was out. Like, well, there was a good 12 horses I was ready to sort of click the button on, and there wasn't many I got the chance to. So yeah.
Another get along story is I remember at his first start at Randwick was in one of those rich 2-year-old races. Old man's top selection I had him second pick. Old man had him on top.
Did he win?
No, ran fifth. Ran fifth or something. He led. He led to the 50.
One to the boy, eh?
Behind Barber, Rose Hill, if it was the Golden Gift, which $1 million race, Barber and Mahaba just finished in front of him there. So,
no, it was pre that. That was at Rose Hill. This was at Randwick. It might have been when we had the Bondi Stakes.
Exciting horse, Jono JNO at themailbag.com.au if you want to get involved. We've got some 2-year-olds left as well with the Hayes boys, and we've got Keats, Pesto, and Poland running this weekend at Caulfield. What else we got going on this weekend, John? And we'll finish with a bet or 3 from Gano for the weekend.
I was just going to say, my inbox has 27 unread emails regarding Get Along since we've been recording this. So
must have been on an RDO, were you?
You'd wonder. While we've been recording this, as I said, our owners will know that I get back to the emails very quickly, regularly. But we have London Point's probably our only other runner, but unsure where she goes yet. She's drawn, accepted for 3 races, drawn 12, 15, and 15. So
nice, boys. Any bets over the weekend? Start with you, Mickey Gannon.
Yeah, it's going to be absolutely raining cats and dogs at up in Sydney. Rose Hill race 3, number 8, So Sleek. Kerry Parker, 7-day backup, 2,000 metres. This is a relatively competitive horse in midweek 72s, and this is just the midway. So you're getting $16. Take that each way. Good bet. And I will go to race 8, number 4, Chrysaor, around the $15 mark. Loves it wet.
Mate, be careful getting sucked into that Flemington number.
Just wet. I'm just looking at wet numbers.
Yeah, that's a wet number. That was a chaos day. That was when it hailed in run, I think.
Good.
And, Via Sistina got rolled.
Rain.
Yeah, Via Sistina lost that day. Chrysaor won. Butch, anything that stood out to you across the weekend, mate?
No, but I can give you some mounting yard mail from Hong Kong next week because I'm off there on Monday, heading across to the international races. And sorry, Rob Scurry, that's making you a bit jealous. I'll be looking at some Japanese horses in the mounting yard the following Sunday.
I won't be doing much.
What was that? Yeah.
You'll be looking at the Japanese runners, the horses that usually parade for 20 minutes prior to jumping and barely raise a sweat. I'm lucky to get 4 minutes before the jockey gets on, maybe 3.
I've got a tip.
Oh, here we go.
And for followers of our newsletter, the Mailbag Bloodstock newsletter, $10 each way. I said $10 that one last week, Nereus.
Sorry, I didn't even watch it.
Yep, no, your loss.
Well done, Jono. Well
Thank you. Yeah, race 8 at Ellerslie on Saturday. Number 1, Twain. Very, very progressive horse, I think. $5. There's rain coming. That'll suit him. He's by Perencanto out of a good mare, Fleur de Lune. Which you may remember. So, I thought $5 was a gift. I think he'll win a big race this prep or next prep.
Beauty. I haven't done a lot of form yet, but Caulfield race 9, number 1, Tuvalu was absolutely enormous first up. I like they stayed in Melbourne. I like Barra too, and it handles all types of conditions. Short, but it's very safe. That's my best. Anything else, boys, before we wrap it up? Just a walk, thanks. Episode 16, brought to you by Mailbag Bloodstock. Right now, shares available. Get along, John, and mailbag.com.